The morning sun filters through the blinds of my new office, casting a golden hue over the stacks of papers and books scattered on my desk. The scent of fresh coffee mingles with the faint mustiness of aged textbooks, creating an atmosphere that is both invigorating and nostalgic. I take a deep breath, letting the air fill my lungs as I attempt to steady my nerves. Today is my first day as a professor at Whitmore University, and despite the excitement bubbling within me, an undercurrent of unease lingers. As I gather my things and prepare for my first lecture, my mind wanders back to the whirlwind journey that led me here. The countless hours spent buried in research, the sleepless nights crafting lesson plans, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge all culminated in this moment. But as proud as I am of my achievements, there is a shadow that looms over this new chapter of my life. Her name is Claire. We met during my final year of graduate school. She was vibrant, intelligent, and fiercely ambitious. We connected instantly, our chemistry undeniable. For a time, everything seemed perfect. But beneath her captivating exterior, Claire harbored a darkness that ultimately tore us apart. When I discovered her infidelity, it shattered me. The betrayal cut deep, leaving scars that still ache when I think of her. I shake my head, dispelling the memories. Today is a fresh start, a chance to leave the past behind and forge a new path. With renewed determination, I stride out of my office and make my way to the lecture hall. The campus buzzes with the energy of eager students, their faces a mix of anticipation and curiosity. The lecture goes smoothly, and by the time I finish, my initial apprehension has faded. As the students file out of the room, I gather my notes, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Just as I'm about to leave, a familiar voice freezes me in my tracks. "Professor Daniels?" I turn slowly, my heart pounding. There she is, standing in the doorway with the same confident smile that once captivated me. "Claire." "Claire," I managed to say, my voice strained. "I didn't expect to see you here." Her smile falters for a brief moment, but she quickly recovers. "I just transferred to Whitmore. It seems we'll be colleagues." I nod, struggling to maintain my composure. "I see. Well, welcome to the team." For the next few weeks, Claire and I are forced to interact more than I would like. The tension between us is palpable, each exchange laced with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Despite my best efforts to remain professional, the hurt and anger simmer just beneath the surface. One afternoon, after a particularly frustrating meeting, I decide it's time to confront her. I need closure, a chance to lay everything out and, hopefully, move on. I head to her office, my mind racing with thoughts of what I will say. But as I approach the door, I hear laughter from within. Curiosity piqued, I gently push the door open a crack and peer inside. The sight that greets me is nothing short of shocking. Claire, half naked, is draped over her desk, while a young male student in a maid outfit perches on the edge, giggling as she runs her fingers through his hair. My stomach churns with a mix of disgust and disbelief. How could she? And with a student, no less. But as the initial shock wears off, a new emotion takes hold, an undeniable desire for revenge. I step back, my mind racing with possibilities. This could be my opportunity to finally get back at her for all the pain she caused me. I take a deep breath, formulating a plan. It's time to turn the tables. The next few days are a blur as I gather evidence of Claire's indiscretions. Photos, recordings, anything that could be used to expose her. Each piece of evidence feels like a small victory, a step closer to justice. Finally, armed with irrefutable proof, I request a meeting with the university's administration. As I lay out my findings, I can see the shock and disbelief on their faces. They promise to take immediate action, assuring me that Claire's behavior will not be tolerated. True to their word, within days, Claire is suspended pending an investigation. The news spreads like wildfire across campus, and the once confident woman is now the subject of whispers and judgmental stares. Her career, her reputation, everything she worked for, begins to crumble. I watch from a distance, a mix of satisfaction and sorrow swirling within me. I never wanted things to end this way, but perhaps it's the only way to truly move on. As I walk away from the administration building, I feel a weight lift off my shoulders. This is just the beginning. There are still many chapters to be written, and I intend to face them head-on, unburdened by the ghosts of my past. The following morning, the campus is abuzz with the news of Claire's suspension. As I walk to my office, I can hear snippets of conversations, students whispering, faculty members murmuring in hushed tones. The air is thick with speculation and judgment. "Did you hear about Professor Richards?" one student says to another as they pass by. "I can't believe she did that," replies the other, shaking their head. Inside, I feel a mix of emotions, satisfaction at seeing justice served, but also a lingering unease. I hadn't anticipated how quickly and completely Claire's world would unravel. As I unlock my office door, I'm greeted by a familiar face. "Hey, Nate," says Mark, my colleague and one of the few friends I've made here. "Have you heard the news?" I nod, feigning ignorance. "Yeah, it's all over campus." Mark steps inside, closing the door behind him. He leans against my desk, his expression serious. "I know you and Claire have history, but this is a mess. The administration is in a frenzy, and the students are all talking about it. Do you know anything more?" I hesitate, unsure of how much to reveal. "I heard some rumors, but nothing concrete." Mark sighs. "It's just shocking, you know?" I never would have expected this from her. I can see the concern in his eyes, and for a moment, I feel a pang of guilt. But I push it aside, reminding myself of the pain Claire caused me. The day passes in a blur of classes and meetings, but the tension on campus is palpable. As evening approaches, I decide to grab a coffee from the campus cafe. The line is long, filled with students and faculty alike. As I wait, I spot Sarah, a bright and enthusiastic student from my literature class. "Professor Daniels," she calls out, waving me over. I join her at a table, grateful for the distraction. "Hey, Sarah. How's it going?" She smiles, though it doesn't reach her eyes. "It's been a crazy day, hasn't it? Everyone's talking about Professor Richards." I nod, taking a sip of my coffee. "Yeah, it's quite the scandal." Sarah leans in, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Do you think it's true? That she was involved with a student?" I choose my words carefully. "It's hard to say. The administration is looking into it, so we'll know more soon." She bites her lip, looking thoughtful. "I just hope it doesn't affect our class." "You're a great teacher, Professor Daniels." "Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate that." As I leave the cafe, I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. Glancing over my shoulder, I spot Claire standing a few yards away, her eyes locked onto me. Her expression is a mix of anger and desperation. Before I can react, she marches over, her voice low and seething. "What did you do, Nate?" she hisses. "You think you can ruin my life and get away with it?" I hold my ground, my heart pounding. "I didn't do anything, Claire. You did this to yourself." She glares at me, her eyes burning with fury. "This isn't over, Nate. You'll regret this." With that, she storms off, leaving me standing there, shaken. As much as I want to believe that I've done the right thing, her words linger in my mind. The next few days are a whirlwind of activity. The investigation into Claire's actions intensifies, and the administration holds several meetings to address the situation. I'm called in to provide my testimony, detailing the evidence I gathered. Each meeting is tense, the air thick with anticipation and judgment. One afternoon, as I'm preparing for my next class, I receive a call from Dean Thompson. He requests a private meeting in his office. My stomach churns with anxiety as I make my way there, unsure of what to expect. Dean Thompson's office is spacious and well appointed, with shelves lined with books and awards. He gestures for me to sit, his expression grave. "Professor Daniels," he begins, "I want to thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. The university takes these allegations very seriously." I nod, feeling a knot tighten in my chest. Feeling a knot tighten in my Thompson. I just want to ensure that our students are safe and that our faculty maintains the highest standards. He studies me for a moment, his gaze piercing. I understand. However, I must ask, why did you wait until now to come forward with this information? The question catches me off guard. I scramble for an answer, my mind racing. I wanted to be sure of what I was seeing before making any accusations. I didn't want to jump to conclusions without solid evidence. He nods slowly, though I can see the skepticism in his eyes. Very well. We will continue our investigation and take appropriate action. In the meantime, I expect you to maintain your professionalism and focus on your duties. Of course, Dean Thompson, I reply, relief flooding through me. As I leave his office, I can't help but feel a sense of unease. The weight of my actions is starting to sink in, and I wonder if I've truly done the right thing. Later that evening, as I sit in my office grading papers, there's a knock on the door. I look up to see Sarah standing there, her eyes wide with concern. Professor Daniels, can I talk to you for a minute? Sure, Sarah. Come in. She closes the door behind her and takes a seat, wringing her hands nervously. I overheard some students talking earlier. They're saying that you were the one who reported Professor Richards. I tense, my mind racing. Where did they hear that? I'm not sure, but it's spreading fast. People are starting to talk. I take a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. Sarah, I can't comment on any ongoing investigations. All I can say is that the university is handling the situation, and we need to focus on our studies. She nods, though I can see the doubt in her eyes. Okay, Professor Daniels. I thought you should know. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it. As she leaves, I'm left alone with my thoughts. The walls seem to close in around me, the weight of my actions pressing down on my shoulders. The path I've chosen is fraught with consequences, and I can only hope that in the end, justice will prevail. The days following my conversation with Sarah blur into a haze of lectures, meetings, and whispered rumors. The tension on campus is palpable, like a storm waiting to break. I try to focus on my work, but Claire's parting words echo in my mind, a constant reminder of the uneasy truce we've reached. One afternoon, as I'm heading to the library, I run into Emily, a junior professor in the history department. We've exchanged pleasantries in the past, but today she seems unusually flustered. Nate, can I talk to you for a moment? She asks, her voice tinged with urgency. Of course, Emily. Urgency. She glances around nervously before lowering her voice. It's about Claire. I overheard something in the staff lounge, and I thought you should know. My heart races as I lean in closer. What did you hear? Certainly, Claire is claiming that you fabricated the evidence against her. She's telling anyone who will listen that this is some kind of vendetta. I feel a surge of anger mixed with a twinge of fear. That's absurd. I had nothing to do with her actions. She did this to herself. Emily nods, her expression sympathetic. I believe you, Nate. But she's determined to drag you down with her. Be careful. Thanks for the warning, Emily. I'll watch my back. As she walks away, I feel a knot of dread tighten in my stomach. Claire's accusations could complicate things, but I refuse to let her manipulate the narrative. I head to my office, determined to devise a plan to protect myself. Later that evening, I receive an unexpected visitor. Professor Jameson, an esteemed member of the faculty and one of the most respected voices on campus, knocks on my door. He enters without waiting for an invitation, his expression serious. Professor Daniels, he begins, his tone formal. I've heard some troubling rumors about your involvement in the Claire Richards scandal. I take a deep breath, meeting his gaze. I had nothing to do with Claire's actions, Professor Jameson. I only reported what I saw to ensure the safety and integrity of our students. He nods slowly, his eyes narrowing. I believe you. But Claire is making quite a fuss, and it's causing a significant amount of unrest among the faculty and students. We need to address this head-on. What do you suggest? Jameson strokes his chin thoughtfully. We need to hold a faculty meeting. Let everyone voice their concerns and clear the air. It's the only way to move forward. I agree, knowing that transparency is our best course of action. The meeting is scheduled for the following day, and I spend the night preparing myself for what promises to be a tense confrontation. The faculty meeting is held in the large conference room, and the atmosphere is charged with anticipation. As I enter, I see Claire seated at the far end of the table, her eyes fixed on me with a cold, calculating glare. The room is filled with murmurs as my colleagues settle into their seats. Dean Thompson calls the meeting to order, his voice steady and authoritative. Thank you all for coming. We are here to discuss the recent allegations against Professor Richards and to address the rumors circulating about Professor Daniels' involvement. Claire is the first to speak, her voice dripping with feigned innocence. I would like to start by saying that the accusations against me are entirely false. This is clearly a personal attack orchestrated by Nathaniel Daniels, and I demand a thorough investigation into his conduct. The room erupts in murmurs, and I can feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me. I stand, my hand shaking slightly as I address the room. I have nothing to hide, I say, my voice firm. I reported what I saw because it was the right thing to do. Claire's actions were inappropriate and unethical, and I have evidence to support my claims. Claire scoffs, her eyes narrowing. Evidence that you conveniently gathered yourself. How do we know you didn't fabricate it? Dean Thompson raises a hand to silence the room. Professor Daniels, do you have the evidence with you? I nod, pulling out the folder containing the photos and recordings. I pass it to Dean Thompson, who examines it carefully before passing it around the table. The room falls silent as my colleagues review the damning evidence. Professor Jameson speaks up, his voice calm and measured. This evidence is compelling. It is clear that Claire Richards engaged in inappropriate conduct with a student. However, the question remains whether Professor Daniels had any ulterior motive, and I spend the night I meet his gaze, my expression resolute. I did not. My only concern was the welfare of our students and the integrity of our institution. The room is silent for a moment before Dean Thompson speaks again. Based on the evidence presented, it is clear that Professor Richards violated university policies. As for Professor Daniels, there is no concrete proof of any wrongdoing on his part. Claire's face pales, and I can see the desperation in her eyes. This isn't over, Nate, she whispers, her voice barely audible. The meeting concludes with a decision to terminate Claire's employment, effective immediately. The room slowly empties, but the tension lingers. I gather my things, feeling a mix of relief and unease. As I leave the conference room, I run into Sarah again. Her eyes are wide with concern. Professor Daniels, are you okay? I nod, forcing a smile. I'm fine, Sarah. Just a lot to process. She hesitates before speaking. I heard some students talking. They think you did the right thing. That you were brave to stand up for what's right. Her words bring a small measure of comfort, and I thank her before heading back to my office. The events of the day have left me drained, but I know that this is far from over. Claire's threat hangs over me like a dark cloud, and I can't shake the feeling that there's more to come. That night, as I sit alone in my apartment, I receive an anonymous email. The subject line reads, "Proof of Claire's plot." My heart races as I open the message, revealing a series of documents and recordings detailing Claire's attempts to frame me. My hands tremble as I read through the evidence, my anger and determination growing with each passing moment. Claire's plot to ruin me is more intricate and malicious than I could have imagined. But now, I have the upper hand. Armed with this new information, I know that I must be careful. Claire is desperate, and desperate people are dangerous. But I also know that I can't let her win. The next chapter of this story is about to unfold, and I'm ready to face whatever comes my way. As I prepare for the battles ahead, one thing is clear: this is only the beginning. The truth will prevail, and justice will be served. The next morning, I wake with a sense of purpose. The anonymous email from the night before has given me the ammunition I need to end this battle once and for all. I print the documents and recordings, my mind racing with how best to use them. The campus is still buzzing with the aftermath of Claire's termination, but I know that revealing her plot is the only way to clear my name and put an end to her threats. I arrive at my office to find Mark waiting for me, his expression concerned. "Nate, can we talk?" "Of course, Mark. What's on your mind?" He closes the door behind him and sits down, his eyes searching mine. "I've been hearing things about you and Claire. Some of the faculty are starting to question your integrity. I know you're a good man, but these rumors, they're damaging." I nod, understanding his concern. "I know, Mark. But I have new evidence that will clear everything up. Someone sent me proof of Claire's attempts to frame me." Mark's eyes widen in surprise. "Are you serious? That's incredible. Have you shown it to anyone yet?" "Not yet. I wanted to talk to Dean Thompson first. I need to handle this carefully." Mark places a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "I'm with you, Nate. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help." "Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it." After he leaves, I make my way to Dean Thompson's office, the documents and recordings clutched tightly in my hand. As I approach, I see Claire storming out, her face a mask of fury. She stops when she sees me, her eyes narrowing. "This isn't over, Nate," she hisses. "You think you've won, but you have no idea what you're up against." I stare at her, my resolve unwavering. "We'll see about that, Claire." Inside Dean Thompson's office, I hand him the evidence, explaining the contents. He reviews the documents and listens to the recordings, his expression growing more serious by the minute. "This is disturbing," he finally says, looking up at me. "Claire's actions go beyond unethical. This is criminal." I nod, feeling a sense of vindication. "I agree. We need to take immediate action." Dean Thompson leans back in his chair, deep in thought. "I'll contact the university's legal team and the authorities. In the meantime, I suggest you keep a low profile. Claire won't take this lightly." As I leave his office, a sense of relief washes over me. The wheels are in motion, and justice will soon be served. But as I head back to my office, I can't shake the feeling that Claire has one last card to play. Later that day, I receive a call from Sarah. Her voice is frantic, and I can hear the fear in her words. "Professor Daniels, you need to come to the library. It's Claire, she's causing a scene." My heart pounds as I rush to the library. When I arrive, I find a crowd of students and faculty gathered, watching as Claire stands on a table, shouting accusations and waving a stack of papers. "You all think I'm the villain here," she screams. "Well, let me tell you the real story. Nathaniel Daniels is the one who should be punished." I push my way through the crowd, my anger rising. "Claire, this needs to stop. You're only making things worse for yourself." She turns to face me, her eyes wild with desperation. "You think you can ruin me and get away with it? I have proof that you manipulated the evidence, that you're the one who's guilty." Before she can say more, Dean Thompson arrives with campus security. He steps forward, his voice calm but authoritative. "Claire, you need to come with us. We have evidence of your attempts to frame Professor Daniels, and the authorities have been notified." Claire's face crumples, and she lets out a strangled cry. "This isn't fair. You don't understand." Two security officers gently escort her away, and the crowd slowly disperses, murmuring amongst themselves. I stand there, my heart heavy with the weight of everything that has transpired. Mark appears at my side, his expression a mix of relief and concern. "You did the right thing, Nate. This needed to happen." "I know," I reply, my voice quiet. But it doesn't make it any easier. The days that follow are filled with a whirlwind of legal proceedings and administrative meetings. Claire is officially charged with misconduct and conspiracy, and the university begins the process of repairing the damage done to its reputation. One evening, as I'm sitting in my office, reflecting on the tumultuous events, I receive another anonymous email. This time, the subject line reads, "The final piece." I open it, my curiosity piqued. Inside, I find a single document, a letter addressed to me, dated several years ago. The letter is from Claire, written shortly after our breakup. In it, she confesses to her infidelity and expresses deep regret for her actions. She talks about her insecurities, her fear of failure, and how she projected those fears onto our relationship. She apologizes for the pain she caused and wishes me well in my future endeavors. I read the letter several times, the words blurring together as I process the revelation. It's a side of Claire I've never seen before, a vulnerable, remorseful side that makes me question everything. As much as I want to hold on to my anger, I can't deny the humanity in her words. The next day, I visit Dean Thompson with the letter. We discuss its contents, and he agrees that it should be taken into consideration during the ongoing proceedings. While it doesn't absolve Claire of her actions, it provides context that may influence her sentencing. In the end, Claire is dismissed from the university and faces legal consequences for her attempts to frame me. The scandal eventually dies down, and life on campus returns to a semblance of normalcy. But the experience leaves a lasting impact on me. I continue to teach at Whitmore, determined to focus on my students and my work. The ordeal has taught me valuable lessons about resilience, integrity, and the complexities of human nature. I find solace in my friendships with colleagues like Mark and in the support of students like Sarah. As the semester draws to a close, I receive a final email from the anonymous sender. This time, it's a simple message: the truth will always prevail. Keep fighting for what's right. I smile, feeling a sense of closure. The battle with Claire is over, but the lessons learned will stay with me forever. And as I look forward to the future, I'm ready to face whatever challenges come my way, armed with the knowledge that truth and justice will always prevail.